we can achieve things even when we're away from home. And it's really important for us to build ourselves where we're living, because if we're not building ourselves in our current communities that we've moved into, we cannot help our communities back home.
Eight years and one idea that people said wouldn't work. Morawa, Linda George, Ramina Rated, and Diane Pathu all went to school within the same 10-minute radius in Chicagoland. From that same region, a group of women came together to do something that had never been done before. They created and implemented the first accredited Assyrian high school language courses in the United States. It took 8 years of vision, advocacy, and perseverance to turn that idea into reality. Today, Assyrian 1, 2, 3, and 4 are fully accredited year-long high school courses. And over the last 2 years alone, more than 200 students across 2 school districts and 3 high schools, Assyrian and non-Assyrian students, have enrolled in these courses. Hi friends, it's Steve, and welcome back to episode 214 of the Assyrian Podcast. It's truly good to be back with you after a year-long hiatus. We missed you so much. The Assyrian Podcast is back with a renewed sense of commitment to consistent episodes, familiar voices, and some exciting new collaborators, including new hosts and also a new social media team. We don't pretend to have all the answers at the Assyrian Podcast, but we care deeply about the conversation and about educating one another. This episode is a perfect example of why these conversations matter. These accredited Assyrian courses move the Assyrian identity in America beyond something remembered only as a culture or heritage and into recognition as a living, thriving, established immigrant community. In today's episode, we'll sit down with the women who helped create and shepherd this historic program. Ramina Samuel, the first Assyrian counselor in the district, and Christine Kochou Yousif, the first full-time Assyrian language teacher. She's also born and raised in Skokie, Illinois. We're also joined by a graduate of the program, John Shlimon, who shares what it meant to experience these courses as a student. And I want to give a special thank you to our Assyrian Podcast co-host, Sarah Abraham, for helping me host and produce this episode. She's a Chicago native, and so she really helped me to understand everything that was going on and gave us so many good questions for the interview. Thank you all for being part of the Assyrian Podcast. If you enjoy this conversation, share it with a friend, let other folks know about it, and please consider rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to the podcast. And so thanks for being back with us. And now here is Bringing Assyrian into American Classrooms with Ramina, Christine, John, and Sarah. We're so excited to have everyone here for the Assyrian Podcast to talk about the first Assyrian language course that's accredited in the United States of America. So to start us off, I would just like to go around and just everyone could share their name and sort of their role in this whole project.
I'm Sarah Abraham. I'm one of your co-hosts here at the Assyrian Podcast. I am a alumnus of District 219, Niles North specifically. And I probably would have loved to have a class like this available to me when I was in high school. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Ramina, and you can tell us your involvement.
I'm Ramina Samuel, a school counselor at Niles North High School, and I am known in the community a big advocate for the Assyrian language. I'm involved in Bitkanu nonprofit organization, but within District 219, I am a sponsor for the Assyrian parent group, which is called D219 Suraya, and I'm also a co-sponsor for the Assyrian Club at Niles North. And my role in terms of the language initiative, I supported it in the last 5 years of building the program before the approval.
All right. And my name is Christine Yousif. I am one of the 2 Assyrian teachers at District 219, both at Niles North and Niles West. And this is my 3rd year being a part of this program and helping to get the curriculum going for all the levels we have so far and the future levels we will have. Thank you.
My name is John Shlimon. I'm an alumni of Niles North, and I was a member of the class 2 courses in the Assyrian language for 2 years. So I did Assyrian 1 and Assyrian Heritage as well.
Very cool. Well, thanks everyone. I want to dig into a couple of questions before we get to some of the ones we had planned earlier. So Ramina, you mentioned you're a counselor in the district. Like, do you counsel people on sort of if a student's having struggles, or is it more of like helping them pick classes and plan their future? Tell us more about, and also we know you're the first Assyrian counselor in the school district, which is amazing. But yeah, just tell us more about like, what does that look like a day in the life of?
That's right. So I was the first one, and I had not realized it was such a big deal when I started then. Since then, we have had 2 additional Assyrian counselors in the district. And the counseling field has really progressed in the past 30 years, and it has shifted from guidance counseling to school counseling. And school counseling covers 3 different areas. So we work on social emotional counseling, post-high school counseling, which is college and career counseling, and academic counseling, which is what most people think we do. That's course registration and the academic piece.
Very cool. I would have given anything to have a Assyrian counselor when I was in high school, because I just had people who couldn't relate to me. So good on you for doing that and serving our Assyrian community and the world that way. That's pretty spectacular. And then Christine, I know that you're the first Assyrian language teacher, and before that you were the science teacher for the school. What happened? Was it more of like you were doing biology one day and then they're like, well, now you need to speak Assyrian? How did that happen for you?
So actually, I was working at a different district, a neighboring one, actually the one that has Assyrian added now as a language as well. So I was at Maine Township as a science teacher. So I actually knew people working at District 219, and they let me know that they were searching for an Assyrian teacher and they needed somebody who could speak, read, and write. And they encouraged me to apply, and I did. And I was very honored to be picked as one of the 2 Assyrian teachers. So it was kind of unexpected. I definitely was, continuing in my journey as a science teacher, but I'm so happy that I have the honor to help create this curriculum and be a little part of this.
Cool. And then John, I know you're in college now. Do you mind just sharing quickly kind of what you're doing these days?
Yeah, so far college, it's been a lot of studying, but recently actually last year, the year before I became went to college, they opened an Assyrian Student Association at my school at University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. So they had one previously at Loyola, and I think they're trying to do one now at UIC. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we've just started one, so we've been having meetings and doing collabs so far. So I'm just happy to see, like, even though I'm not at high school anymore, I still have a Assyrian community around me,
That's amazing. And for those of you that are listening, we know John is in college because he has the best headphone and microphone, like gaming headset than all of us. So that's awesome.
Oh, can I add? John was actually part of our executive board of Assyrian Club at Niles North. So he's continuing that legacy at college. So I'm really proud of you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's get into some of our more formal questions. Over the last 2 years, have there been any moments for any of you where you either felt like a deep sense of satisfaction or Assyrian pride, knowing that this program is happening? Like, how did it feel for you to see this program go from a summer elective to an accredited course that fulfills graduation requirements?
This is a great question. We're just really overwhelmed, like where to start.
Yeah.
I think for years and years, it took us 8 years, but for years we were told this was not possible, that Assyrian was an oral language, and they were trying to push other languages, for us to consider taking or even advocating for to offer at our district rather than asking for Assyrian. So to really persist with our ask and go beyond our district level and go to the state level and get it approved, and then have it accredited as a world language. For example, for me as a school counselor, to have then a student come in and ask to interview me in Assyrian for an assignment from their Assyrian heritage class, it's such a fulfilling feeling, and it cannot be put into words. And I think we're taking it day by day, year by year, because it is all new to us, but it is real and it is possible. And we want our diaspora family across the world to know that they can also do this. We can achieve things even when we're away from home. And it's really important for us to build ourselves where we're living, because if we're not building ourselves in our current communities that we've moved into, we cannot help our communities back home. So it really has many layers, and it's all surreal.
Take us back to when that student walked in and spoke to you in Assyrian saying, hey, I need to interview you. What was that like just in that moment?
I was impressed. It was a heritage course. So our heritage courses are for native speakers that have had some exposure either at home or by taking community classes at community centers or churches. So to see the level of vocabulary that was being used and the personal questions that I was being asked, and it was being recorded so that they would then go back and type it up or write it down or present on it in class. So I was really impressed. And I remember even there was like a specific word, which I wish I could remember now, that both of us were trying to figure out, and we had to like pull up a dictionary together to confirm, because again, we're building this together and we're officially learning a language. It's an everyday class and for 2 semesters. So there's a lot of content that's being built. And this is like day-to-day, very non-traditional way of learning the language, similar to other languages. I'm sure we'll hear more about that later, but yeah.
Well, I guess with that, I'll hand it off to Sarah for the next question.
We know this program was a grueling 8 years that finally culminated through your determination and many others' determination and commitment to get this over the finish line. With that being said, have any other Assyrians so far in the country reached out to you guys for guidance or direction for Assyrian language courses in their area? Are you guys getting those calls just yet?
Yes, we have been connected to some of our community members in California, specifically Turlock. So we have been supporting them, and our district is aware of that as well. In general, I think because we know, and our district knows, that we are first in the nation in the US to have this program, we're very supportive of sharing what we have, the knowledge, the systemic knowledge that we have, but also any guidance that we have in terms of curriculum to help. So we are open if anyone is interested. And we did the same with our local districts here. Christine mentioned earlier she used to work for Maine, and they only had to go through a year process of getting these courses approved. So we became a blueprint. We got it approved in our state of Illinois, and any school in Illinois can teach Assyrian classes as long as their district approves and there's a student interest. So we had to work with some of our community members like Rabi Anwar Atu from Australia, because we have Assyrian schools there, and order their textbooks, even though they're specifically for like a religious or Christian school. So we have been working in collaboration with many, many people to make this possible. And that is why we believe strongly that this is something to share. And it's like a pay it forward experience.
I love that. It's like, how can we, contribute this towards like public good for all Assyrians in diaspora?
For this to be an accredited class, it's hard for people who aren't in education, don't understand like educational systems, getting curriculum approved. 8 years sounds about right. You would think after year 2, the person who had the desire let it go. By year 3, they're like, oh yeah, someone tried to do that, it didn't work. And then by year 5, we can never do that. But it seems like with you all, by year 8, you pushed it over the finish line. I'm surprised that sort of the large population of Assyrians in different parts of the country, you haven't had more reach out. Do you anticipate sort of the word spreading about this?
We're hoping with Assyrian Podcast and other medias covering this program and really understanding, as you said earlier, because I don't think people understand what type of classes we have, because we've had just community members reach out, oh, how can I sign up? No, this is an official course that is for a public school for specific students that are enrolled in that school, and understanding that this is like an everyday course, 42 minutes a day, and a lot went into it. So I think once people understand what these courses are, more people will reach out. I don't think they know what the possibilities are. And what's important for us, we, as a community, we like to gather where Assyrians are. We tend to move a lot, so it doesn't help, but if we can kind of congregate and establish ourselves in a community, if we have the numbers, then it is possible to build programs to not only have language programs, but add in other courses like cultural courses, history courses. So right now, our courses are called Assyrian Language and Culture courses, because this is where the world languages are headed now. They see that you don't just learn language by learning the alphabet or grammar. You learn it by the experiences and the cultural pieces. So that is integrated, and I'm sure our teachers can share more about the type of experiences they provide within their classrooms.
Let's say you're not an Assyrian. You don't care about preserving the Assyrian culture or the language. What value is there for you from an academic standpoint for taking these classes? Will it help you to get into a better college, or will it help you with a specific major in college? So like, that's one of the underlying things. I'm sure there are people that are like, oh, cool, they're teaching Assyrian at school. Like, that's cool from a cultural perspective, but like academically, intellectually, what value does it bring versus taking another language?
So I will say I've had a handful of students that have no Assyrian background, sometimes are not even really close to anyone enough to practice Assyrian with at home or a neighbor or anything. But what I've heard from them is that they wanted a challenge. They wanted a language that was really different kind of patterns from what they're used to. And another student had told me that it was such an ancient language that's still being taught that made him really interested. Like, oh, this is my chance to learn a language that, used to be so widely used. So he's like, I'll take it, because where else am I going to learn it? So there's been a few, just kind of interests pop up among students who are not Assyrian, where it's kind of an opportunity presented to them where they don't really have that chance to take a class like this anywhere else, especially geared towards people who are new to the language and don't have a background in it at all. And I think that could help with getting into colleges or on your application, because if you kind of show that you are open to these kind of challenges, you're not just taking a language that maybe you're comfortable with or have experience with, that could be something you highlight on your applications. And I hope they do that.
It's got to be unique, right, for colleges when they get an application and it says like they took Assyrian. I wonder how many like admissions counselors at colleges have looked at that and then just had to go do more research, like, what is this course? And I wonder like how proud the schools are to be able to provide something like this. Has that been something that you've seen throughout the district? We're robust enough that we can even provide this Assyrian language course?
Our district is definitely proud that we have accomplished this and that they're the first in the nation. We were invited to present to a national conference for superintendents, like school superintendents. And we were given an opportunity to highlight this Assyrian initiative and highlight how it took different stakeholders, from students being the center to caregivers to community members and to educators and administrators. So we had that opportunity to present on how you can bring about a language that was not existing in a state or a program, and showcase that so that superintendents can go back to their school districts and look into their communities. Because, for example, for our Assyrian community here within the Niles Township, we make up an estimated 30% of the student body, Assyrians. And to not have any representation within courses, that was a concern to us. So we were listening to our students' voices and our families' voices of having representation, and how our families wanted that representation was through taking Assyrian language classes. And that's what we worked on. So not only are we here to provide a blueprint for our Assyrian community across the nation, but we were given an opportunity to share that with other superintendents to go back and hopefully to support other underrepresented populations.
That school district is not just talk. They're legit. They're really looking out for every student, because a lot of people, especially in education, love to use that language of like each and every student. But who is gonna actually push through a program like this unless they actually legitimately are looking out? So I don't know who those people are, but I know they're good people for doing that. So that's really awesome. So switching gears, we've got John, the alumnus, in the group chat with us. So John, there's the curriculum that you were taught, which is wonderful. We're going to hear more about that. But like, was there stuff that wasn't necessarily in the curriculum, but you learned? Did you notice a difference in yourself or in your classmates with how they viewed their Assyrian identity because of this class? Did it change or transform you? Or was it more of like confirmation of what you already knew? Like, what was, for someone who was a student, what did it feel like for you to have that class?
I mean, for me, it was definitely very changing in the way that I feel like being born in America, especially, usually when I'm speaking formally to someone, I'm speaking English, or if I'm writing formally, I'll write in English. And I feel like Assyrian has always been like a home language, and I can kind of just speak it however I want. You know what I mean? Like I can mix these words and this word. It doesn't have to be gendered specifically because it's at home. Like no one's gonna get on me for that. Maybe my mom will be like, "Oh, you didn't say that right," but it wasn't really something like I needed to have done. But now that it was a course and it's something like my grade depends on if I gender someone correctly or if I an object correctly. I need to, make sure I'm doing everything right. And so it showed me a really formal side of Assyrian that I never had before. And I learned a lot of words that I would have either used like a Arabic replacement for that word because you really use it in Assyrian and stuff like that. Like it was just very much like now I'm able to speak Assyrian more formally and write especially more formally. And that was just something that was not like specifically stated, but all the students had to get after that and start becoming more formal with their speech, especially.
I love it, man. That sounds I want to take this class. So we're going to ask you a question about getting more people to take the class, but that's later. So John, would you recommend this class to someone who's not an Assyrian or has no cultural connection to Assyrians?
I would personally, because I've seen people like my friends who have taken like Mandarin, for example, because it's a challenging course. I know we've said that earlier. It's a challenging course, and I feel like even as an Assyrian course is very challenging. It's a difficult language, and it's also a different type of language. It's like Semitic roots, so it's different from learning Chinese or learning German or Spanish. So it's really it challenges your mind to think and to speak differently, and especially because of how loose our language is around like ordering your words in English, like I can say like, "What's up, man?" But if I said that in Syrian, it would make like zero sense as well. So it's like I would definitely recommend it because of how much it challenges your brain, challenges how you speak. and to who you're speaking, how things are gendered as well. So it's a great thing to see from new angles, just like how you take different math classes and they challenge your brain in different ways. I would say Assyrian challenges your brain in a new way.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I do know too that certain majors in college really helps to have that Semitic background. So that's pretty awesome, and I'm glad. I know, John, you're studying electrical engineering. Have you seen any words show up in any of your electrical engineering stuff? I know that's out of the blue question. Tells you how much I know about electrical engineering, but yeah.
Yeah, I wish it would have been more recognizable for sure, but mostly it's Greek letters, like how math is as well. There's a lot of theta and all of that stuff. So one day we'll get some letters in there, aleph, bet, everything.
Awesome. All right.
Christine, would you give us an overview of what the curriculum looks like as a teacher who is teaching Assyrian full time now?
Yes. So our curriculum has to follow a certain national standard. So we've created everything to be aligned with just like the other world languages. It's called ACTFL standards, ACTFL. So we have to have activities, or every unit has to have involve the different functions of language. So we have to practice speaking, listening, and reading and writing. I guess that's 4, but so in each unit, we try to do each one of those, and we go based on themes. So we don't just necessarily learn grammar rules. We don't just build upon that. Grammar rules are involved in when they come up with certain themes. For example, like if we're talking about, let me think, like family, the theme about family, we learn the verb to have, because then I can say I have 2 sisters. So everything is divided up by like, how do I describe myself? How do I describe the people around me? And then the community around me. And again, grammar is kind of pushed into each one of them with different verbs and how do we conjugate those verbs, and then learning the gender of nouns and then the adjectives that have to match those nouns. So it's built up like that pretty slowly the first year. And then I'd say the second year we are doing more complicated themes, I guess. So we're doing like schools and careers, not just like, your day at school, but it's talking about school in the future. So we learn the future tense of verbs, or careers, like what would you be? And then we're in year 3 now. And actually, I don't teach that one this year, but we are definitely going more into grammar and more heavily into reading and writing as well in that year to really perfect the reading and writing. And year 4 will be taught next year. So that's something we actually have to plan this summer. And we're excited to do that. So not sure where we'll go with that yet.
Yeah, I know that when I took language courses, it was like, they test you on grammar and all these things, but it was never conversational. I took like 3 years of French, but then I went to France for a couple of months, and I didn't know how to say anything. And I know like times have changed, and now they're helping you to be more conversational. So have you all like done any field trips where they have to go to like an Assyrian restaurant and order food, or go to like someone's grandma's house and like talk to the grandma for an hour?
For each of our field trips, we always go to an Assyrian-owned restaurant. We actually usually submit our orders ahead of time just because of the size of the group. But you know what? I think having them order in person in the language will be a goal of mine for the next field trip. And as far as talking to grandmas, we're trying to include more projects where an option would be to interview people, just because some people have more easy access to interview Assyrian speakers than others. But yeah, that's another one. We try to include more speaking with native speakers.
If any of your students do an Assyrian interview or an interview in Assyrian, and they want to post it on the Assyrian podcast, that can be like a project. You just let us know.
Thank you. We have a little project menu. I'll add that to one of the options.
Oh, we would love to post that. We would love to do that. Okay, so and actually what we would do for that is they would have to like produce the whole thing, and they do an intro, they do a hook, they do the Linda George song to start us off and everything. All right. Okay, next question. Thank you for sharing about the curriculum. That sounds really like what you would think for an official world language course. So next question is, we know that in Chicago there are many organizations that teach language and culture. We were wondering, how do these high school level courses complement that work?
It goes back to really understanding what these courses are. You know, we are a public school, so we don't need any financial assistance really. So when we were reaching out to the community, it was more about building bridges and getting their moral support and spreading the word. And when we were sharing with them that this is, well, some organizations, when we were sharing this with them, that this is what we were working on, yes, we were met initially with, oh, we already have these programs, you know, we have such and such day that we teach Assyrian. How would this benefit us or our community? Right now, what we have accomplished with these classes is that it's supporting our Assyrian students, but it's also sharing our culture and language with non-Assyrians. These are courses open for all of our students. And in our district alone, this is the Niles Township, we have 4,000 plus students. And as of now, this year, we have about 100, almost 40 students registered for these classes. And this is just within our 2 high schools. We also have Main Township, Main East, which has also about 100 other students. So understanding that teaching language the old-fashioned way of learn this alphabet, and then you're stuck there for years learning the same alphabet. There's a flaw there, there's a gap, right? So yes, we are teaching it differently. First of all, we're not teaching classical Syriac or classical Assyrian. We are teaching Surat. We are using a standard version of it, meaning it doesn't have foreign words. So we are working rigorously with someone from back home, which is, I'll name him Yousif Odisho, who graduated from Assyrian schools, finished his bachelor in Assyrian, and is finishing his master's in Assyrian. So that he's part of our team and our professional development for our teachers to continue to grow their skills, but also ensure that they are teaching a standard, because our spoken language is not really standardized. So if you're trying to teach it, most of our community or even students wondered, and John might agree with this, we were always met with questions of like, wait, so which dialect are you going to teach us? Is it going to confuse me? I don't want to get confused with, you know, what I already know and speak at home. No. You are learning a standard that will improve your Assyrian and allow you to have the language skill to connect with other Assyrians that speak other dialects. So we are teaching Eastern Assyrian, you know, Surat. So that is what we're working with now, but it is through a more modernized lens. And we are also using different ways of like collecting resources and what our teachers use. I think a lot of times, again, most teachers, this isn't just for the Assyrian language, they're moving away from textbooks. Textbooks are now used as like an additional supporting resource, not a main source. So there is a lot of like online activity, you know, all students actually have Chromebooks or laptops, and everything is done like with PDFs and printed versions. And we are building a curriculum. We don't have a reliable textbook right now. We have different versions of textbooks. And even those that we are using, we went through extensive research as a team, because there's a lot out there. There are a lot of people printing things in Assyrian, but it's not necessarily accurate or standardized or correct. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, adding more resources, but it does add more confusion to what we are teaching. So we were working again with professionals and experts in the language and to ensure that we were supporting Assyrian language resources. So as I said, we worked with Rabbi Anwar Atto from Australia, and we bought about like 200 textbooks from their school, and he was very supportive to us. We went through also like ordering some additional textbooks like the Modern Aramaic Language for Beginners. They just came up with an app, which is really amazing. And that has been really supportive to have as a reference for our teachers as well. But our teachers go through like a monthly professional development meetings to build up and review their curriculum. And it's just different. I think our community is still getting used to how these classes are running, because there's more emphasis on connecting and culture and speaking rather than like the traditional way. And I think they're still getting used to that.
Christine, can I ask you, you grew up like me, Christine, where you grew up in Skokie, correct?
Yeah, most of my childhood in Skokie.
And then how did you learn Assyrian growing up? Was it mainly through family, or was it like outside of family?
So speaking was through my family. I actually was an ESL student in elementary school. For the first 2 years, I didn't speak almost any English. And then I learned reading and writing by going to the Sunday school at church. Also, since I was, as long as I can remember, maybe 3 or 4 years old, I was doing that. And I probably ended as a teenager. So I was doing that for a really long time. But you have a question.
My follow-up question to that is essentially, how do you see this differing from how you learned previously? Or like, are there things that you're noticing in the standardized version of Assyrian that is different from what you came into this course thinking?
Yeah, so one thing, definitely just from spoken Assyrian, we have a lot of borrowed words. No, not that we have, I shouldn't say that. We use a lot of borrowed words. So there's a lot of words that are originally Assyrian that for some reason, maybe certain dialects or, depending where your family grew up, they use maybe the Arabic word or a Turkish word or the Persian word. So there were so many vocabulary words that I figured I learned through creating the curriculum for this course that were not truly rooted in Sudif. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to relearn so many words now. And I have to teach my parents. So that was one thing that I realized just from the spoken aspect of it. And then from reading and writing, kind of like what you were saying earlier, I realized at the church Sunday classes, I kind of just memorized letters and vowels and could read things, but I didn't necessarily know what I was reading. I wasn't taught to like figure out what's a verb and what's a noun and an adjective and all of that and the parts of a sentence. And just with working with this curriculum, that I really did learn parts of a sentence and grammar and structure and all of that. So that's something that wasn't taught to us. That is something we focus on in these classes.
So it sounds like, just from hearing from both of you, that yes, there are other organizations that teach Assyrian, but this course is obviously like it's for a grade and you have to have certain standards. And so it's a whole different experience, which is really fantastic. Go ahead, Christine. Were you going to say something?
And I also did want to add one more thing. I had parents actually in the last month, I had parents for students who are in Assyrian 1 saying that their children had gone to the Sunday school their whole life and they are speaking, reading, and writing better since August till now, like 4 months. They are doing all those things better than they have seen them, do. They've progressed much more quickly in these 4 months than they have in all that time that they've been going to Sunday school. And that's something I always want to tell parents. This is not like an after school activity. This isn't, once a week. This is 40 something minutes every single day for 180 school days. And so I think that's a major difference compared to what's offered in the community, which it definitely makes a big difference.
I do want to add, so Steve, you said earlier if it complements, so it does complement our program. And now that we have built 4 years of Assyrian language, even other languages, other communities, they offer Sunday schools or Friday schools. And we have that opportunity for our students to still do a placement test and test into like a higher level of Assyrian if they are going to Sunday schools or Saturday schools or Friday schools in the community.
Yeah.
So it does complement and support our program. The difference is that, through high school, it's official and they'll have a different experience and it's every day, but it will build on what they are doing in the community. So it's not taking away or it's not to replace it, it's adding on to the experience.
Thank you for clarifying that. I know that as other groups in the USA want to go ahead and do this kind of a thing, they can know that, hey, this is going to actually help your students to then go back to those organizations, be even more proud of who they are, but having more robust, even understanding. The thing I've seen when I've done research on this course, and even in just talking to John tonight, is that you all have created a space where it doesn't seem like Assyrians are trying to pretend like their culture is cool. It's just genuinely and organically coming out where kids are proud. Man, the way these kids are like showing off their Assyrian identity, I'm like, man, oh man, what I wouldn't give just to feel that way at that age. So I think that's really cool. John, can you speak a little bit to that?
Definitely. I mean, when I was telling my friends, like, oh, what language are you taking? What Spanish are you in? I used to take Spanish. Now I'm like, oh, I'm done. No need for Spanish anymore. This is Syrian now. I'm ready. This is what I've been training for, all those years in Friday school. So it felt great. And I think one of the pinnacle of my college applications, I was very happy to put that I advocated for and I attended an Assyrian class. It was the first in the nation. And I put that on my resume, on my comment app, when we're applying. I was so happy. And I was like, this is going to definitely stand out to colleges. And I'm ready for that to happen. And it did, I feel like.
It did. Thank you, John. That was awesome.
As an alum from Niles North, it was like pulling teeth trying to get people just to go to Assyrian club. And like, mind you, we were just doing fun things in Assyrian club, like dancing together and like eating food. So now to hear that there are Assyrian students that are proud of the fact that they have an Assyrian course at these schools, it really does warm my heart. And like, I could get very emotional about it, but it's just the fact that you guys are being seen in a place where you make up 30%. I did not realize it was 30% of the, population. So I'm just proud of you all. And I'm very happy that you guys have this moving forward.
I wanted to add, well, thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. And I wanted to add that because it is a very new program and we have gone out of our way to reach out to all the families that we know that are Assyrian in the community, every possible way to communicate that we have this program, including social media, but really word of mouth is the most powerful. And it's really essential for anyone in the community, in the diaspora, even if you don't live in the Chicago greater area or in the areas that are offering these classes, to talk about these world language courses, because it really highlights the program and it gets more people interested to learn more about it so that they could maybe start something similar in their areas, or to really highlight the program in a way where it gets other students interested, whether they're Assyrian or not Assyrian, because as you know, right now, it's all about what is cool. When it comes to electives, even with world languages, it's really like a competition of you're marketing something. Why is Assyrian good? How is it going to benefit you? And as you heard throughout the interview, there's a lot there. Other than obviously connecting to your own community, we were asked at some point in the process of like, well, what are you going to do with Assyrian when you get to college or you're trying to get a job? Actually, you could do a lot, because especially if you are, going into a field, as you said earlier, that is related to the language, or if you're a professional working in a community that needs Assyrian speaking. So, as you mentioned earlier, I was the first Assyrian counselor. I know I give myself a lot of credit for getting the job, but I also know I was the first Assyrian counselor. It was a big deal to have Assyrian listed on my resume. So I want to, our younger generation to know there is a benefit to knowing another language and to just to be multilingual. I want parents to know that, or caregivers to know that being a multilingual individual is more beneficial than not. And there's a lot of research behind that. And I'll give my 2 cents here too. It's really wrong to want to only teach English to your child from fear of, going through like the English language learning program or being discriminated or just trying to fit in. I mean, look at the examples that we have here. As Christine mentioned, her example and her story, John earlier too. And then on my end, I immigrated here. So I came in when I was 15 or 14, and I speak 3 other languages. So it is possible, and it's beneficial. So please teach your children Assyrian. And if you don't know Assyrian, that's okay. There are other ways to expose your children to the language.
Thank you, Ramina. One of the questions that I don't know if we need to tackle here, we don't need to tackle here, but I want to throw it out there. Like, I wish you all would take this and put it into an online course, like an official thing, and then charge for it. I would charge like $100 a pop, like an annual subscription. And that 100 is maybe too low. I don't know. Go higher, because then people will. But like, the thing is this shouldn't just be for your guys' area. Like, my nephews are in Turlock and they do homeschooling. I would love if they could take this course. It would change their life, but I know like it would be virtual, which wouldn't have that same experience.
People asking about it being available online. As of now, that is not part of our roadmap, and we are, a public school system, so that is not something we're looking into. But hopefully, as we build this language program, as we expand in terms of, the nation of where we're making this accessible, because, there's like seal of biliteracy, and there are many things that we could do, but I don't think it's not possible. I think that can happen in the future, but as of now, it's only in person. So for now, we will work on supporting more in-person schools to initiate this, but I could see this happening online. I don't think it would be us, but it would be, I think with AI, if anything, it should get easier too. So.
And John, speaking of AI, did any of the students use like GPT to cheat on any of the Assyrian stuff? I guess that's a better question for Christine, right? Yeah.
I didn't think so. I mean, I don't know if it would even know how to respond. Maybe someone tried. I guess less than AI was more Assyrian dictionaries were out a lot, so we use those quite a bit, but nothing too bad.
There are AI models that have been learning Assyrian, from what I know. One of the world language teachers, was trying to use it. It doesn't use the best words for certain things. Like, they were trying to get the word for community and it gave something totally weird. So the dictionary we have is the best resource for sure.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, so we have over 1,000 listeners to every episode that we put out. And so we have people from all over the world, Assyrians in Iraq and Australia and Sweden and the US, all over the world, who listen to the Assyrian podcast. And so we want to give an opportunity for the 3 of you, starting with John. If you could say one thing to all the Assyrians all over the world who listen to the Assyrian podcast, what would you say to them?
I would say that we are already people in diaspora, so I think it's very important that even if we can't, like if I'm living in Australia and I see this program, I can't see it, but I should still have faith in it and support it, and support all Assyrians around the world, no matter if you don't know exactly what they're doing. But the Assyrian people need to stick together more than anything, and I feel like that's the message. I'll leave it at that, something simple, to support each other as much as we can.
Thanks, John. We'll let Christina go next, and then Ramina, you can close us out.
I would say that no matter where you are or how much community you have around you, find what you can do to empower and help support the Assyrian community, whether it's through language or cultural or church or any way for you to get involved. And again, even if you don't have a community nearby, whether it's online or just some way to support and be involved, because if you don't do anything, your Assyrian identity, kind of gets lost. So find some way to be active that is meaningful to you.
Thanks, Christine.
And I want to add that it's really important to take up space and to take up leadership and really represent. So if our voices are not present, then it's really hard to create change. And for our community to trust in the professionals. So if you're trying to build any type of initiative, to really go to the experts, right? So for us with this program, it was successful because we worked from a model of, we were building something for students, so student-centered. We were building something about language. So, people that were language proficient and experts were involved. And we were building something for school. So we worked with educators. And as educators, we were able to uplift this. So please use your resources. As John said, we are in a diaspora. We're a smaller population in the world. We have to use our resources wisely. And حاولي تبسمي رابط مش ميدخل.
Do you like what you heard today? Please share it with a friend, a family member. Is there someone you think needs to be on the Assyrian Podcast? Reach out to us and let us know. Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to the podcast, and we appreciate all of your support. We're looking forward to amazing conversations in the year 2026. Thank you and have a wonderful day.